Hello everyone, this is Gracie here. In this video, we'll be discussing about joint product. So what is joint product is, in many industries, two or more products are unavoidably produced from the same process and the same raw material. So when two or more products are produced using the same raw material and with the same process of production, then those products are called as joint product. So these products are produced in a natural proportion which cannot be changed at the will of the management. So these products which are manufactured will be of will it is an outcome of the main product. These joint products are the outcomes of the main raw material or single raw material, which is a natural outcome which cannot be controlled or changed by the management of that industry. For example, when you are refining an oil, when a crude oil is processed, you get many products which are produced from the same raw material. Examples: when you refine a crude oil, you get out petrol, you get out kerosene from that oil, you get out diesel, you get grease. The leftover, the last portion will be your grease. Out of the grease, there are still more joint products which are being added on with these main product or same raw material. So the products which are produced from the same two or more products which are being produced from the same raw materials are called as joint products. So let us look into the characteristics of a joint product. So joint product are produces from the same raw material in natural proportions. Yes. So the products which are the two or more products which are being developed are from the same raw material, and it is a natural contribution or proportions. So they are produced simultaneously by a common process. Yes, to manufacture a joint product, the process is the same, the raw materials is also same. They are comparatively of almost equal value. So the value of those products will be equally proportioned. So they may require further processing after their point of separation. Yes, joint product with the same raw materials, each process will be separated in order to get different joint products. So they may require further processing after their point of separation. Yes, so from the crude oil you might get petrol. From the petrol, a separation process or charges will be required to separate to separate diesel from those petrol. Then for separating kerosene from those diesel, it takes further processing to get the other joint products. But the main characteristics is the raw materials remain same for this joint products. So the next topic is examples of joint product. So oil refining joint products are petrol, diesel, kerosene and grease. For flour mill, joint products are white flour, brown flour, etc. Dairy joint products are cream and skimmed milk. Meat processing joint products are meat, leather, etc. Yes, when you are uh, when you are dealing with meat processing or you are into meat processing sectors, then the joint products what you get are you get meat out of it and leather out of it. So this leather will lead to manufacture of what other products. So the next part or the next topic of a joint product is joint cost and subsequent cost. So what is a joint cost? Are costs that are those which joint costs are the costs which are incurred before that stage in manufacture at which the products get separated. So what is subsequent cost? Subsequent costs are those costs which are incurred after the separation or split off point. So in short, what is joint cost is? Joint cost is a cost which is incurred before the product is being divided into different products. For example, a joint product, from the crude oil you get petrol, diesel, kerosene. So the cost of processing of petrol, diesel and kerosene, the total cost is called as a joint cost. It's a common cost. But when it comes to subsequent cost, it is a split of cost where the cost which is incurred for after the separation or split off point. So it is a attributable cost. On the other hand are those costs which are incurred after the separation or split off. So it is a separate cost for each raw material. So this is a cost which is incurred after split off point. So the distinction between joint cost and subsequent cost is important because when accounting for products, the joint cost are the main problem. This is because joint cost cannot be traced to individual products, and the cost accountant is faced with the problem of portioning the joint cost incurred to various joint products produced. Yes, it is difficult to apportionate the cost, the subsequent and joint cost. So it is a problem for the cost accountant to apportion the cost between various joint products, because the processing for petrol will be much more than the processing for kerosene, and the cost to be decided for it is difficult, or it is there is a lot of problem which has been faced. So that is why, because when accounting for products, that is why the distinction between joint cost and subsequent cost is important. So it is very important to know the difference between joint and subsequent cost, because when accounting for products, the joint costs are the main problems which cannot be easily traced out. So while accounting or manufacturing these raw materials and getting these joint products, it is important to note down what is your subsequent costs incurred and also the joint cost. Joint cost can be easily known because it is a overall cost which has been divided, but the overall cost which has been incurred. But when it is coming to subsequent cost, it is classification of cost after the separation point. So after the separation point, what is the cost incurred for estimating the cost incurred for each product, each joint products is a really problem which is faced by the cost accountant. So in order to apportionate those joint costs, the methods of apportionment is been listed out here. So the first method for apportionment of joint cost is sales value method, and the other methods are reverse cost method, physical units method, average unit cost method, and survey method. So under sales value method, it is apportioned on the basis of unit price and on the basis of sales value. So when it is apportioned on the basis of unit price, for example for on the basis of unit price is based on the selling price per unit. So when it is coming on the basis of sales value, it has been apportioned by selling price per unit into the production quantity. So sales value, you cost per unit into number of units produced, you multiply that, you get a value, that is sales value. Using the sales value, you will apportionate the joint cost to different products. So what is a sales value method is, under this method, joint costs are apportioned to various joint products on the basis of sales value of each product. The sales value method has the following variant, that is on the basis of unit price. In this method, the selling price per unit of various product is taken on as the basis of apportionment of joint cost. So, for example, product A, B, C is given and the selling price per unit is given per unit, that is for one unit the selling price for A is 12, for B it is 8, for C it is 4. So now the apportionment is 12 is to 8 is to 4, or you can further apportionate it. 12 is to 8 is to, for A it is 12, for B it is 8, for C it is 4. So if you apportionate further 12, 8 and 4 in 4 tables, 4 threes are 4, 2s are and 4 ones are. So it is 3 is to 2 is to 1. So this is your ratio to apportionate this products for A, B, C. So might be your joint cost is 9,000. So out of 9,000 you apportionate based on the ratio. So you might get based on the ratio 3 is to 2 is to 1. You might get for 4,500 for A, 3,000 for B, and for C you might get 1,500. So when you apportionate your joint cost based on your selling price per unit, it is on the basis of unit price. So when you apportionate on the basis of sales value for A, B, C products, the selling price for A is 12, for B it is 8, for C it is 4. So when it is 12, 8, 4, now in previous method under sales value method, under the a point, that is on the basis of unit price, you are taking only selling price per unit. But when it comes to on the basis of sales value, that is your b method, you need to multiply your number of units and take sales value. Based on the sales value, you will apportionate. For example, for a, selling price is 12 and the number of units produced is 200, so 200 into 12 will give you 2400. So like this, for b, selling price is 8, selling price per unit is 8 and the production number of units produced is 600, so 600 into 8 will give you 4800. Then for c, the selling price is 4, then the production units which is produced is 700, so 700 into 4 will give you 2800. So now the total value for a is 2400, for b it is 4800, for c it is 2800. So the total sales value for each product is being decided. So now your total joint cost is 9000. So with this sales value you can apportionate. So you can take from A 2424, for B 4848, and for C out of 2828. So 24 is to 48 is to 28. So this will be the ratio to proportionate the joint cost of 9000. So this 9000 can be apportioned with the ratio 24 is to 48 is to 28. So in this method, you need to multiply cost per unit into the number of units produced with the sales value. You will apportionate and divide the joint cost to different products. So next method is your reverse cost method, or it is also called as net realizable value. In this method, the joint cost is apportioned on the basis of net value of each product. The net value is calculated by deducting the following from the sales value. So this is a reverse cost method. You usually add on all your expenses to find out your cost. Then you will add your profit to get your sales. When it is a reverse cost method, you will have sales. From your sales, you will deduct all your expenses and you will find out what is the exact initial cost for it. So that is why it is called as reverse cost method. So the net value is calculated by deducting the following from the sales value. So what are the expenses? What are you going to deduct from the sales value is estimated profit margin, selling and distribution cost after a split of processing cost. So the net values of individual products so obtained are taken as the basis of apportioning joint costs. This method is known as reverse cost method because the net value or the cost for apportionating is calculated by working backwards, that is deducting everything from the sales. So you deduct profit, you deduct selling expenses, and you find out what is your split of processing cost. Next, next method is physical units method. So under physical units method, this method is being calculated, or the joint cost is apportioned on the basis of relative weight, volume or quantity. So what is the relative, based on the relative weight, volume or quantity? It means the joint cost is decided based on the number of units, the total value or the quantities. For example, the products are given here. The products, you are producing different products in one joint products in different industries. So now, for example, if you take oil, crude oil, you produce petrol, diesel, kerosene, and grease. So what is the percentage of that or weightage of that joint products? Might be petrol. You are utilizing okay, the total tons. Okay, petrol you are using 1000 liters. 1000 liters is the outcome. Then for diesel it can be 500 liters. Then for kerosene it might be 200 liters. Then grease might be 100. So when it is divided like this based on the quantities, so 1000, 500, 200, 100. So based on the quantity weightage, the proportion can be decided. So the total of this will be So the total of this petrol, diesel, kerosene, and grease will come up to 4,000 plus 500 plus 200 plus 100, which will give you 1,800. So 1,800 is for 100%. So what is the proportion of petrol, kerosene, diesel in that industry you will be calculating? So it's just for 1,800 is for 100%. Then for 1,000 liters, what is the percentage? You will just cross multiply. So 1,000, which is of petrol, into 100 divided by 1,800, the total, you will be getting 55.55 percentage. So when you get 55.55 percentage for petrol, it means that 55.55 percentage is the production of petrol. So the remaining will be, might be 20%, 30% will be diesel, 20% might be kerosene, and the remaining 10%, the remaining okay, 5% will be this grease. So based on these weightage or volume which is be produced, the ratio or the cost can be divided. That is why it is known as physical units method, where the proportion of our apportionment of the joint cost is done based on the number of units which is actually produced from that joint product. So when it comes to next method, average unit cost method, under average unit cost method, what they do is they find out the joint cost by the product's total cost divided by number of units produced. So you get a total cost divided by number of units produced, you'll get the cost per unit. Total cost for that producing for a particular unit, or for producing or for taking raw materials from the crude oil, or for processing petrol, for processing kerosene, for processing diesel and grease, the total cost will be 30,000. So number of liters will be 1,800 liters. So 30,000 divided by 30,000 divided by 1,800 liters will give you 16.66 rupees. So the cost per unit, total cost divided by number of units produced. So you might get a cost per unit. So that cost per unit will be the cost which will be considered for apportionment of different joint products. So next method, survey method. Under this method apportionates the joint cost to various products on the basis of results of survey and detail and from the technical evaluation. In this survey, when they take a survey, various factors like volume, selling, marketing process, etc. are studied, and points for weights are assigned to each products. So cost apportionment on the basis of such weights or points. So a clear evaluation of the product or a survey is done on taking into the market conditions. Based on that, based on the quantity and based on evaluation of many opinions and surveys, the cost for each products will be decided. That is why it is stated as survey method, where a survey or list of detailed study of that particular asset, or that particular products detailed volume, selling price of the in the market, or the market conditions will be studied, and based on that it will be apportioned. So next we will look into the joint product problems. We are using these methods. So next we will be discussing the problems under a joint product and byproduct. So problem 3.12. The following details are extracted from the costing records of an oil refinery for the week ended 30th September 2004. Purchase of 500 tons of copra, rupees 2 lakh. Then cost of labor, we have given for crushing plant, refinery plant and finishing. So there are three processes here. Under crushing, cost of labor 2,500, 1,000 for refining plant and finishing 1,500. Then other expenses are also given. Electricity, power, sundry materials, repairs to machinery and plant, steam, factory expenses, cost of casks. Cost of sacks is given only for the finishing stage, 7,500. Then 300 tons outputs of crude oil was produced. 250 tons of oil was produced by refining process. 248 tons of refined oil was finished for delivery. So all these are outputs for the three processes, which is crushing plant, refinery plant and finishing. Then we have copra sacks sold rupees 400. 175 tons of copra residue sold for rupees 11,000. Then loss in weight in crushing process is 25 tons. Then 45 tons by byproduct was obtained from refining process, valued at rupees 6,750. So you are required to show the accounts in respect of each of the following stages of manufacture for the purpose of arriving at the cost per ton of each process and also the total cost per ton of the finished oil. So they've given us three processes: copra crushing process, refining process, finishing process. They've asked us to prepare all the three processes and find out the cost per unit in each processes with the information which is given in the question. So the first process what we are going to prepare is crushing plant. So copra crushing plant, particulars are tons rupees, particulars tons and rupees. So to copra used is, you have introduction here, purchase of 500 tons of copra, rupees 2 lakh. So to copra used is 500 tons at rupees 2 lakh. Then to labor, cost of labor of crushing plant will be taken. So we have cost of labor 2500, electricity, power, sundry materials, repairs to machinery and plant, and steam, factory expenses we would be taking in your input side. So where it totals up to 2,05,400, then the total tons is 500. So next we need to check what are the output items. So the output items are 300 tons of crude oil was produced. Yes, the actual output for that product process is 300 tons of crude oil was produced. Then we have regarding to copra sacks sold at rupees 400. So they've given here copra sacks are sold at rupees 400. Then 175 tons of copra residue sold for rupees 11,000. So next, check whether anything related to copra crushing process is present in the problem. Loss in weight in crushing 25 tons. Yes, then 45 tons by byproduct was obtained from refining process. So this is obtained from refining process. In copra, we have, for copra crushing process, we have 300 tons output. Then they've given us copra sack was sold for 400. Then 175 tons of copra residue was sold for 11,000. Then loss in weight in crushing 25 tons. So there are 4 items to be recorded in your output column. So by sale of copra residue, how many? 175 tons of copra residue which was sold. So we will take first the sales. How many tons? 175 tons at rupees 11,000. Next we will take up the other sales. Copra sacks sold at rupees 400. So by sales of copra sacks 400 tons is not given. Next, they've given us a loss in weight in crushing 25 tons. They've given the loss, but they have not given the cost, so it is nil. Then the actual production for that process is 300 tons of crude oil was produced. So by cost of crude oil is 300. So now we have the input and output columns. So our total input tons is 500. So when we add up our total output tons, we get 500. So the tons of your input and output are matching. So now the balance is the total cost in our input side for crushing process is 2,05,400 minus 11,000 minus 400 minus 1,94,000, which will give you from 2,05,400 minus 11,000 minus 400 the cost, which will give you the difference 1,94,000. So 1,94,000 is the cost and the balancing figure which is incurred in copra crush processing cost. So how to find out the cost per unit? Total cost divided by number of tons. So total cost is how much? 1,94,000 divided by 300, which will give you 646.67 per ton. So let us get into the next process, which is refining plant. In refining plant, the cost which is given is cost of labor 1,000, electricity power 360, sundry material 2,000, then repairs to machinery and plant 330, steam 450, factory expenses 660. So let us prepare our next process, which is refining plant process. Under this process, we will record all the inputs and outputs. So particulars tons rupees, particulars tons rupees. So the output of the crushing process will be an input for refining process. So what is the output? What we have got in crushing processes? 300 tons of, what is the cost? 1,94,000. So this will be the input for the refining process. So to crude oil 300 tons 1,94,000. Then all the other expenses from the question, labor, electricity, power, sundry materials, repairs and maintenance, repairs to machinery and plants, steam factory expenses will be taken from the refining for the refining process. So this is the total cost which is incurred. In the question, we need to check whether any items which related to output is present. So we have 250 tons of oil was produced by refining process. So this is the actual production. Before that, just look into any other sales is made or is there any other loss which is incurred regarding refining process. So output 250 tons. Then we have 45 tons byproduct was obtained from refining process valued at rupees 6,750. So 45 tons of byproduct was obtained from refining process. So sale of refining products. So we have a byproducts. So what is the meaning of byproducts or examples related to byproducts is byproducts from sugar mill we get bagasse. So from sugar mill we get bagasse molasses. So what is bagasse is? It is like a dry fibrous residue that remains after sugar cane are crushed to extract their juice. So after you crush the sugarcane juice, you get this bagasse, which means it is a fiber kind material, which is the leftover. As soon as you crush the sugarcane, you get that leftover material, that are fiber kind substances. That is the that substance which is used for boiling, which is used as a fuel for eating up sugarcane or for boiling the sugarcane liquid. I'm sorry, the sugar liquid in order to form it into a crystal form. To form it in a crystal form. That is this product is used as a eating material or as a fuel for burning or for eating sugar juice, sugar syrup. So this is not only used for heating or it as a fuel for heating, it is also used in producing other byproducts like what like materials like paper can be manufactured through it. Then there are other byproducts as well which has been manufactured with these bagasse. So what is molasses? Molasses is nothing but when you boil this sugar juice in order to convert into a crystal sugar, you get a liquid substance, a dark thick brown or blackish liquid substances, which is nothing but where the remaining particles after you extract the sugar cane and it is formed into crystal form. A black, when you heat it, you get a kind of substances, a dark like a jaggery liquid. You get substances similar to that. So that is known as a sugar. It will be like a thick liquid as a brownish syrup, like a syrup which is used as an essence in preparing any sweet dishes. So it is also a byproduct from the which we get from the sugar mill, which is used for making sugar. So from the main product, for the leftover products or the other products which is used is known as which has been generated is known as byproduct. The same way rice mill. So when you look into rice mill, you get the husk. So in rice mill you get the husk. So you all know what is the husk. So for example, so when you get husk is nothing but usually a dry outer covering of the rice, might be outer covering of the seed or fruit. What you get, the outer shell is known as an husk. This husk is also used as a substance for cattle. This husk is used for feeding cattle. Next, edible oil. So from edible oil you get thick oil cakes, which is also a byproduct, which is also used for cattle, for feeding cattle. Next, cotton textiles. So cotton textiles you get cotton seeds. So these are the byproducts which is being sold, and the cost for this will be comparatively very less compared to the main product what has been produced. So these are the other products which are sold at lesser price. The selling price for this product will be very less because the processing charges is not much more, because it is a byproduct which is generated by manufacturing the main product. So what are byproducts may be those sold in their original form without further processing. So what you get, the byproducts what you got from this are can be a raw material for the other process, or it can be sold without processing. For example, husk oil cake, which is a product which is sold without any processing, which will be given to the farmers for the farmers uses for their cattle, feeding their cattle. Then bagasse and molasses are which can be further processed in order to get a finished product. So these products can be of their original form, or it can also be which can also be further processed for sales which is to be made. So these are known as your byproducts. So in this problem, so when you come to this problem, as you all understood what is byproduct, the question states 45 tons of byproduct was obtained from refining process valued at rupees 6,750. Might be any kind of while refining you would have got any byproducts. So that 45 tons which is sold, which was valued at 6,750 in your refining process. So we will be taking by sales of byproduct 45 tons of rupees 6,750. Then we need to check, do we have any other losses incurred in this problem. So loss in weight only for crushing process. So for refining process they have not stated anything. Then they have given us the output 250 tons of oil was produced by refining process. So by cost of refining process 250 tons. So now if we check, we have the differences here, 300 tons here, and if you look into your output column of your refining process, we have taken 45 tons of the sale, and cost of or actual production of refining process is 250. So 250 plus 45, which will give you 295, but the actual input total units is 300 and the output units is less, which is giving you a difference of 5. So that 5 is the loss which is incurred in the refining process. So by loss 5. So when you're preparing process account, there is no interference of abnormal loss and normal loss. It is just a loss which is incurred. So you prepare these process account or joint product account to find out the cost per unit, to find out what is the inventory valuation, then to find out what is the profit or loss which is incurred in each process, and transfer that profit or loss to the respective profit and loss statements. That is why you prepare joint product account. Joint process account or joint product accounts will be prepared. So the actual loss, what is in the loss which is incurred is 5 tons. 5 tons is the difference. So there is no realizable value for that. So by cost of refining oil, as it is given in the question, which is 250 tons. So the balancing figure will be the total cost. So the total cost is your input, where you get 1,94,000 plus 1,000 plus 360 plus 2,000 plus 3,330 plus 450 plus 650 will give you 1,98,800. So minus the output cost which you have is 6,750, you will get the difference 1,92,050. So now the balancing figure is the balancing cost for the unit, for the tons which has been produced in that process. For 250 tons, the balancing figure total cost is 1,92,050. So you can find out the cost per unit by total cost divided by number of tons. So total cost 1,92,050 divided by 250 will give you 768.2 per ton. So next is your finishing process. So finishing process is you have in the question the expenses, and the output of refining process will be an input for the finishing process. So output is 250 tons at a cost of 1,92,050. Then the other expenses which is stated in the question is cost of labor 1,500, electricity power 240, sundry material is not given, repairs to machinery and plant is 140, steam which is 450, factory expenses 220, and cost of cask is 7,500. So we take all the expenses here. So we will be taking all the expenses to labor, to electric power, repairs to machinery, steam, to factory expenses. But here we will not be taking the cost of casks. So what is casks is, for example, it is a container which has been developed. So cask is a container, or it is a metal, or it can be a wood, or it can be a plastic container which has been manufactured, or which has been developed to store liquid substances. So as we are dealing with oil refining sector, crushing oil, refining, so it is a liquid business, so where the production of liquid is being generated. So in order to store all this, we need a container, isn't it? So that container, it can be either wood, metal, or plastic, is known as a cask. So the expenses related to the casks will be in your last process, which will not be in your finishing process. So as these are a process account which is used to process the raw materials into the finished product. Your cost of cask will come in your selling, packing. That is nothing but selling and distribution expenses. I'm sorry, which will come in your advertising, packing expenses, which is out of your process account. So we will not be considering cost of casks in your finishing process account. So we will take only your cost till 2000, till your factory expenses. Next, do we have any cost of finished oil in this, in the question is? So we have in the question, which states 248 tons of refined oil was finished for delivery. So actual tons which is produced for in the finishing process is 248 tons. So apart from that, we don't have any other output in your finishing product. So we will take by cost of finished oil 248 tons. So now if you look into the input, we have 250 tons. In your output, we have only 248 tons as of now. So what is the difference? We have difference in your output column, 2 rupees. So 250 minus 248, I'm sorry, 2 tons. So we have a loss of 2 tons. As the difference is in the output, it is a loss of 2 tons. So now for the loss, there is no any realizable value. So the difference will be your, the balancing figure will be your cost of finished oil process. So what is your total cost in your input? You get 1,92,050 plus 1,500 plus 240 plus 140 plus 450 plus 220 will give you 1,94,600. So as you don't have any figures to be minus in your output or credit side, the same amount will be your balancing figure, and which will be your cost of finished oil, which is 1,94,600. So how to find out the cost per unit? 1,94,600 divided by 248, which will give you 784.68 per ton. So we are finished with your finishing process account. So we will prepare your finished stock account in order to calculate what is the total cost, because we have the cost of cask. So when we have the cost of total cask, it is like in order to find out, adding up your selling and distribution expenses to find out your total cost. So now finished stock account. So we have finished processing, the balance is 248 tons of 1,94,600 is the total cost. Along with that cost, we will add the cost which is incurred to store all these refined oil. So what is the cost of cask according to your question is 7,500, which is 7,500. So you will add up 7,500 to cost of cask, which will give you 248 tons at rupees 2 lakh to 2,100. So that will be your balance, which will be shown on finished stock account. So by balance 248 tons at rupees 2 lakh 2,100. So 2 lakh 2,100 divided by 248 will give you the cost per unit, which is 814.92 per ton. So this is the end of this problem. So we will discuss other byproduct and joint product problems based on the methods of joint products in your next video. Thank you everyone.